Everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Coach G Show. Today marks a new chapter, not just for the podcast, but for me. If you've been following my journey from lessons from the game, I want to say thank you. That show taught me a lot, but this one reflects about who I've become. The episode is not about looking back. It's about evolution as a player, as a coach, and as a human being. I want to take you behind the scenes of my journey, who G was, how Coach G was born, what shaped me, what I've learned from the setbacks, the comebacks, the coaching part, and even stepping into the corporate world. But most importantly, where the show is going and how it will help you level up your game in rugby, coaching, leadership, and in life. All right, guys. So how's it going? Hope everybody's doing well. It's great to connect with everybody again. And I know I jumped a bit the gun. A lot of you have probably been asking, what's happening? What happened to lessons from the game? There was no announcement. My apologies for that. I just wanted to make sure that I get all the different handles on social media, domains, etc. But yes, firstly, I want to say thank you to everybody that supported the Lessons from the Game podcast. That really inspired me to putting together the Coach G Show and gave me the foundation and experience and lessons that I needed to learn from the previous podcast. And just want to say thank you to Ben Pegner as well, my former co-host with the Lessons from the Game podcast. It was unbelievable sharing that space with Ben, or Ben GPT as I like used to call him, because he had so many ideas and he had so many great insights and in-depth perspectives. Really looking forward to catching up with him again as a guest co-host here on the Coach G Show. So maybe just to give you guys a bit of feedback so you guys can ask what's happening. So after a long discussion or lengthy discussion with Ben, we both decided, because we both have different visions for our own personal journeys in terms of what we want to do, what we want to achieve. I just recently finished coaching at La Rochelle, and there are certain things that I would love to put into place, and so would Ben. And we decided to focus on our own individual paths for the moment. So I just want to say thanks to Ben, and I want to say thanks for the time and the effort that he put in, and looking forward to having him on as a co-host here, or a guest co-host on this podcast. All right, so talking about that, I just thought I'd give you guys a bit of insights in terms of what's happening. So as you've probably noticed, it's still on the same platform. It's still on Spotify. All right, I didn't create a brand new show. I just rebranded the show to the Coach G Show, because that is in fact who I am. But I thought I'd give you guys a look behind the scenes of who Coach G is. But let's maybe start of how G was born. All right, so firstly and foremost, my birth name is Gurthro. I've got a second name, I'm not going to mention that, Steenkamp. And I'll be honest with you, actually, G actually started when I would introduce myself to people, and especially when we were overseas and in New Zealand. And I was like, hey, mate, what's your name? And I was like, Gurthro. Like, hey, what? Gurthro? I don't get it. And then that's how it started. G. Just call me G. It was just easier for me to get people to call me G than constantly correcting. And even in South Africa, there was so many different variations of how they pronounced my name. Gurthro, Gatho, Guntho, Gatter. You know, it was just ridiculous. And just with my teammates, everybody was calling me a different name. And it just happened after one tour in New Zealand. I think we were in Queenstown in New Zealand. And that's where my teammates started to call me G. And I started introducing myself as G. But I think it's important to give you guys a bit more in-depth insights, because Gurthro wasn't always that confident. He was a player that didn't always back himself, didn't always believe in himself. I was very tough on myself as a player. And there were times I had key moments of doubt, whether I could actually play at the highest level, whether I could perform, whether I deserved to be there. Obviously, when I was selected for the Springboks in 2004, there was a lot of criticism whether I merited or not. You know, was it just to paint a good picture for the national team and all those type of things. But G was, in a way, my alter ego as a player. G was the player that was willing to do what was necessary. Back in the day, I was willing to graft hard. I would work at 6 a.m. in the mornings, do my extra sessions. After a game, I would be on the bike or on the treadmill in the gym, getting the work done because I wanted to, because G believed that he could become the best player in the world. G believed that he could achieve great things. So that kind of like became my alter ego, because when I went into that mindset, and no, I'm not trying to refer to myself in the third person here. I'm just trying to give you guys a bit of a background. So that's kind of how G was born, in the sense of he was someone that was confident, someone that was working hard, willing to do what is necessary, someone that became a leader in the Bulls team. So I wasn't always a leader at the Bulls. I was a very silent player in the beginning. It wasn't until guys like Gary Botha left that I started to let my voice be heard. Before, I kept to myself. Before I did my work, I didn't really talk a lot, to be honest with you, especially in the team environment, because I didn't feel I was credible enough. But I started grafting and I started working hard. So that's just to give you guys a bit of an insight where G came from. So obviously, you know my career, and I'm not going to rehash my whole career, my player path, what I did. I've shared a lot of stories already on social media in terms of what I've achieved and what my setbacks were. But I think maybe the one story I don't talk enough about was that period towards the end of my career. I've touched base on it here and there. So in 2017, my career came to an end. But before that, I started working hard because I knew I was getting older. I was 35, I was going to turn 36. And I was conscious that my body needed to be taken care of differently. I needed to work differently. I needed to prepare myself differently for games. And it wasn't always easy. And I was fortunate enough, and one of my mentors, Coach Bruno Dalla Riva, was the French SNC coach at a stage, and he helped me. We started training differently. I started working differently. So my goal was always to activate my bonus year or my optional year at Stade Toulouse. I wanted to finish my career at Toulouse. But things, unfortunately, didn't work out like that. And when that happened, when I was broken that news that I wouldn't be staying at Toulouse, I was down and out. I was down in the dumps. And to be honest with you, it was a difficult space for me to navigate. It was the first time I actually found myself in this position where I didn't have a club. I didn't have like the next job waiting for me. So this was uncharted territory for me. And that was also the time when Ugo Mola, he took over the club. I think it was he took over in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So I worked in 2 years. And obviously he was getting rid of the old guard, which is normal. Understand it 100%. Being a coach today, you couldn't continue with guys like myself, Pato Albacete, Thierry Dusautois, Clement Patrono, he still played for a little bit. But, we were a lot of older players. And it was the right time to make that change. And if we look at it now, what Toulouse has achieved in the last 8 years have been remarkable. It's been unbelievable. And it was tough for me getting to that place, accepting that I won't be continuing my career or finishing my career at Stade Toulouse. All right, sorry, it's been a long day. So, then there was loads of offers on the table, playing in different clubs in France. I wasn't too worried. I wasn't too bothered by it. I knew I would find something. But then for some reason, and I had up to about 10 offers. And I got my idea what happened, but for some reason, all those offers went away. I remember my agent back then, he told me, it was Damien Dussault, he said, gee, we got this, and this. And I thought, okay, it's fine. I'll be going to play this club in France and so on. And then all of a sudden, nothing. And I remember when that season came to an end, I had no contract. We did the end of year function, said my goodbyes to the club. I had a great time. I think it was a garden party. We all had a few beers. It was really good. It was really great to spend some time with my teammates. But then reality sank in. I wasn't ready to give up the game because physically I still felt good. Mentally, I still felt good. And that was probably one of the darkest moments in my life, as a player, where I didn't have a club. And I found myself being in Toulouse, no club, I won't say no direction, but no clear plan really of where this was going. And a lot of people just told me, listen, G, you just need to stop. You just need to hang up your boots and, just take it easy. Enjoy life after rugby. You can have chômage. Enjoy your 2 years of chômage. That's unemployment for those of you who don't know what it is. But that's not the person who I was and who I am. I'm always ready to stay in the fight. I never give up. Sometimes I might not always achieve my goals, but I'll give it my best possible opportunity. Now, why am I sharing the story with you? Because sometimes life gets hard. Sometimes life throws us curveballs, which when we least expect it. And in that moment, we don't know how we're going to get through it. We don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Everybody's telling you things like, just stay positive. Just keep faith, all those type of things. And when it's happening to you, it's not easy. But anyway, so all I did then was I just kept on training. And obviously couldn't go to the gym anymore, the club. And luckily I invested in some equipment at my house. And I would just go into my garage. I would jump on the rower. I would do some weights. I had a squat rack. I did bench press. I would be running. I think the people in the neighborhood were looking at me funny. What's going on with this guy? I had a strength ball. I was grafting. So every day I would have structure in the sense of I needed to do this. I needed to do weight training. I needed to do conditioning. So I still functioned like a professional rugby player, but only in his garage. And, I will probably tell you this, those 3 months where I didn't have a club taught me a lot of things, because pitching up every day without getting the reward, without playing a game, without being part of a team, that was extremely tough. But that is all that I could have done at that moment. That was all that I could control. And my poor agent, Damien, my good friend today, one of my best mates, I was harassing him. I was calling him. I was giving him grief. Why don't we have offers? What's happening? What's going on? And at that stage, 2017, I was 36 years old as a prop. And potentially towards the end of my career, I probably wasn't playing my greatest rugby. You also have to look at it at that point of view. Even though in my mind, I felt good and I felt that I merited to get more opportunities. But we're not here to discuss that. Okay? So, eventually I got the opportunity to play at Stade Francais as a medical joker. And I was relieved. And in my mind, I thought, okay, you're going to go there as a medical joker. You're going to prove yourself. You're going to get another contract and you're going to keep on going. And when I moved to Paris on my own, my little student flat there in Paris, it was in Boulogne-Billancourt. It was new. It was great. And I remember when I was received at Stade Francais, everybody thought I was done. I was a has-been. I was unfit. They didn't even want me to do full squats. But I remember when we did that full first fitness session with the forwards. Actually, when I went there, it wasn't done and dusted. I actually had to prove myself. They actually wanted to see if I could still play rugby or train. And I remember it was Olivier Zam. He was the forwards coach and he wanted me to do a fitness session with the forwards. And funny enough, I was running in front. I was smashing it. I was killing it. I ran a Bronco, I remember, at like 4:56 or 4:54. That's still my record. And I know what you guys are thinking. Gee, where are you going with the story? What I'm trying to share with you guys is that eventually I got that opportunity. But that's when I realized as well, it's time for me to call it quits. It's time for me to end. It's time for me to end it. I knew it was time for me to end it because when we were trying to renegotiate and potentially extend my career, the feedback that I was getting was like, okay, we will see, we'll keep you posted. And in my mind, I knew if they want to keep me, they would have just said so. And I think it was the game, I'm not mistaken, if it was after Brief, that's when I got pulled aside and told I wasn't going to be kept. And that's when I knew it was the end. And I just said to Damien, you know what, I'm done. Because I knew in the back of my mind that potentially will be my last stint. And I needed to say goodbye to the game. And that wasn't easy. And I recently shared last week with the podcast with Paul Willemsen, in terms of my last game, that experience. And when I ran out for the warm-up, knowing that my family wouldn't be there because I had no one to look after the kids. And normally the kids, they couldn't support that loud noise. And when I looked, I saw my wife there and the kids, I just broke down into tears. But anyway, that period taught me a lot of things. That period taught me that anything is possible. When you apply yourself and when you are focusing on what you can control, anything can be achieved. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys that backstory. And then, life hit me. Then I went on chômage, unemployment. I had this idea in my mind in terms of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to become a Scrum specialist. I wanted to become a coach that can help players level up their performances, and I went about it the wrong way. I wasn't a businessman. I didn't know how to go about things. And that transition into coaching, that wasn't easy because I wanted to be a professional coach. And I was knocking on doors, and doors were kept on closing, just kept on closing. I would hear the common excuses like, no, you're a foreigner, it's not going to work. We need a French coach. Or, no, you played for Toulouse. We don't want you to coach at our club because you're just going to steal all our secrets and then share it with Toulouse when you go back. And then the famous one was, no, you're a big rugby player. You're going to overshadow the coach. You have too much authority and that's going to work. And I had all these different experiences, and that path to becoming a coach, it was not easy. I'll be honest with you, there was a stage I thought, okay, I'm not going to get a break. I'm not going to get a gap. But I stuck to my guns in terms of what worked for me as a player, being relentless, putting in those efforts, being consistent. And, that's actually when I started doing things on social media. I remember my good friend, Pierre-Olivier Carle, he said to me, you need to put it out on social media. You need to show people what you're doing now, who you are. And I'll be honest with you, at that stage, I felt very uncomfortable doing that, because I was like, this is not me. I would put the odd photo back in the day as a player on Instagram just to share it with the public, but nothing major. But I had to put in the hard work. I was coaching an amateur team. I was coaching Safcans here in Sale, here in Toulouse. I was putting in the hard yards. I was coaching the under-15s at Colomiers. I was putting in the work, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to get that opportunity because time went by like this. So I retired in 2017. And I potentially only got my first real coaching gig in 2019 as a Scrum consultant at Colomiers and Pro D2. And in between that, there were a lot of moments of self-doubt. And there were a lot of moments where I wasn't sure whether I would make it or not. I was doing individual Scrum sessions. I was coaching players just to get an income, to look after my family and to provide for them. And during that 2-year period, it was a tough period. I'm not going to rehash everything, I just want to give you guys a bit of a background of who I am and, who I've become. And in that period, and I was fortunate enough, I started dipping my toes in the corporate space in the sense of going to companies, doing motivational speaking, talking about mindset, how to build routines that can optimize your performance, how you can develop resilience, all these type of things. And that itself, I remember when I started pitching to companies to take on my seminars or my team building sessions, I had no confidence. All that confidence I had as a player, and I definitely resonate to what Paul Willems says in a week, as a player, I was confident. And all of a sudden, I'm in this new world, uncharted territories. I didn't know where I was going. And fortunate enough, I had the guidance of a good friend, Francois Boudet. He was a director at a telecommunications company, and he's still a great friend today. It was due to him inviting me to go speak to his staff that I realized I actually have this ability to do motivational speaking, public speaking, and helping people, because that's who I am. When I was a player, I always wanted to inspire my teammates. I wanted to motivate them. I wanted to show them the way through a big hit, a strong carry, a great game, a great scrum. That's who I was. And that period after rugby, I lost myself a bit in terms of who I was, what I wanted to achieve. And one of the biggest mistakes I made from back then, I was so focused on making everything work. I wasn't maintaining a balance. I wasn't sleeping a lot. I was grafting the whole time. I could have potentially spent more time with the kids and with the family as well, but that's how you learn. but it wasn't easy. But once again, everything I've learned in the rugby play, with each seminar I started to host, with each pitch I was doing, I would evolve, I would level up. And I had a lot of no's come my way. Obviously, doors would be open because of who I was in terms of what I achieved as a rugby player. But when I wanted companies to actually take on my services to help them to build strong, robust teams, I needed something credible. I needed to actually put forward something decent. I didn't know how to pitch my services. I just thought I could go in there, and because of who I was, and all fair is fair. And I learned a lot of lessons, and eventually I got to a place where I was doing 3 to 4 corporate events a month. And I remember still, even before COVID hit, I had probably about 8 seminars and team building sessions lined up. And then obviously the whole dynamic changed. But everything I was taught as a rugby player, or everything I learned as a rugby player, I applied that into business as well when I was going into the corporate space. And that having that tenacity, that never say die attitude, never giving up, always staying in the fight. And I realized, I've got a passion for this. Yes, I have a passion for rugby. I've got a passion to be a coach. But I think most importantly, I have a passion to impact the lives of others by sharing my truth, by sharing my honesty of who I am. I'm not a perfect human being. At the time of this podcast, I picked up 3 kgs again. I've lost a bit of weight. I lose weight. I pick up weight. Sometimes I binge eat. Sometimes I'm doing things that I'm not supposed to, like maybe having a glass of wine to do, but I try to be on a good place. I'm not perfect, but I'm really focused on becoming a better human being. I'm really focused on evolving as a human being, but most importantly, leveling up. That's what Coach G is all about. And eventually, sorry, I'm going a bit off track here, but so much to share. And then obviously being present on social media, sharing a lot of stuff around the Scrum. And sometimes I would get on lives, just share like what I'm feeling at that moment. And I didn't do that with the intention for likes or followers. And funny enough, everything just blew up. I started getting a lot of followers on social media. And then one day I got that call. I got a call from Jonah Gibbs. I still till today, I have no idea where he got my number from. And he just asked me, listen, G, I saw you live. It really resonated with me. Would you like to come coach at La Rochelle? And that's how I got my job at La Rochelle. And it was probably one of the greatest times as my career as a coach, being part of a team to win 2 back-to-back Champions Cup. It was unbelievable, and also learned a lot of lessons, when things were not going that well. But anyway, going on a tangent here, guys. So, who is Coach G today? What am I about? Coach G is someone that wants to help people. I want to help people. I want to inspire people. Whether you're a rugby player, whether you're a coach, whether you're a purpose-driven human being. And I want to do that through my stories, sharing my experiences, sharing the mistakes that I make, because I'm not perfect. But I'm telling you this, I'm enjoying this podcast journey because it's such a great space. I get to speak with amazing people. I am constantly learning. I'm not a perfect human being. And I can tell you guys this, a few months ago, I think a bit more than 2 months ago, I started a community online on this platform called School. It's called Coach G Level Up. And I'll tell you this. I started this community in the beginning. I wasn't sure where this was going. I wasn't sure in terms of what I wanted to achieve out of it. But all I wanted to do is because I stopped coaching at La Rochelle, because I have the ambitions to become a head coach one day. I want to be a forwards coach. I want to impact on a bigger level. I actually want to coach a team because I am confident that I have the skill set to help players to become better versions of themselves, not only just as rugby players, but as human beings. I've always had that skill. I've always had that sensibility, if we can put it that way. And I actually lost my point. Crazy. I have so much stuff I want to share with you guys. But I think the moral of the story is that I want to empower my audience with the knowledge, with the tools. Recently spoke to Paul Willemse, and he spoke about that even today, professional rugby players don't have the tools, how to manage pressure, disappointment, how to fight back. It's not always that easy. And that's the goal. That's why I'm trying to do exactly on this podcast. So why the Coach G Show? All right, guys, because I want to go in a different direction. So at the moment, I've been inviting guests on. I'll continue to do that. But from time to time, I would like to break things down on specific topics, share what I'm feeling in that moment, because that's how I work. What I normally do on social media, if there's something I have on my heart that I want to share, or I've spoken to a player which I'm mentoring and coaching, then I share my passion with them. And that's what I want to do, because one thing that I've picked up from mentoring coaches and players, you're only impacting a few people, and I want to impact millions if I can. That's my goal, through my message, through my passion, through the guests that come onto this platform. And the show will evolve. And to be honest, that's why I chose the word show. Because the goal will be to eventually go into in-person podcasts. But in order for that, I need to get new sponsors on board. So by the way, if you're listening to this and you're keen to sponsor, let me know. But I want the show to evolve. I want us to be part of something bigger. I want this to be a space as well where coaches and players and purpose-driven human beings can come to every single week, and they know, one, they will either learn something, two, potentially they will be inspired, and three, it will allow them to have a harsh look at themselves and be brutally honest with themselves in terms of what is happening. So what can you expect on the show? So right now at this moment, I'll be keeping the format, keeping the long form on a Tuesday, releasing every Tuesday a long form. So that will either be the guests that I have on. It might be a Q&A that I have on my community, which I feel it's great content and I want to share, like we've did with my former colleague, Steph Dutoy. And then on Fridays, I'll be launching the short form episode. It's about giving you guys a bit of insights into previous episodes or on short specific topics. Last week, I spoke about the 5 BOK lessons from the game, which was important for the audience and the listeners. So that's the type of content that I'm also looking forward to sharing. But anyway, I just want to say, guys, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be sharing my journey with you. And at the time of this episode, I'm still working towards getting my next coaching job, my next coaching gig. But at the moment, keeping myself busy with the community, keeping myself busy. Right now, I'm actually in week 4 of the Scrum Dominator Mindset course for coaches. We've got 13 coaches in there. It's an unbelievable cohort, which we are hosting at the moment, learning a lot from building something great together. And, just trying to pitch up every single day in my community, Coach G Level Up. And that's brilliant. The people that I've met in there is just amazing. Seeing coaches who are coaching at the amateur level and what they are trying to do, what they are trying to achieve, they're putting in everything, every single thing that they have, and the eagerness to learn, even the players as well. And if you haven't checked out the community at Coach G Level Up, it's very simple. I'll put a link in the description, whether you're listening or watching on a different podcast platforms. And even simply, if you send me a DM on Instagram with the words community, you'll get an automated message with the link to that show. All right. So I think that's basically me in terms of what I wanted to share. I wanted to explain to you guys what's happening, why the Coach G show, and why it's happening, why it has evolved. We all got to evolve as human beings. We all got to learn. You can't just stay in that comfort zone. You got to push yourself. You got to push your limits. And I'm super excited for this journey in wherever it's going to lead. I don't know where it's going to go. But I can tell you this. I'll be pitching up every single week, doing my best by interviewing unbelievable people who I believe will add value to this audio, who I believe will make a difference in your life. And I will do my best to provide you guys with great tools, great insights so that you can learn. I've learned a lot of things as a rugby player. And we as human beings, we all have challenges. We all have goals that we want to achieve. And we also have a lot of obstacles that we need to overcome. And sometimes it's just great to hear that other people are struggling too. Maybe that didn't sound right, but that we all have battles. Just the other day, I went to my co-working space and bumped into a great young man. He's very meticulous in his training. And we just had a chat, and I just genuinely asked him, how's he doing? And he just said to me, you know what, it's not going well. I had a tough trip. He went to go see his family the weekend. And I said to him, listen, just hang in there, man. Just stay in the fight. Just put one forward in front of others. Like, we all go through battles. We all go through tough times. And then I said, listen, if you want, let's go for coffee. I'm here. He's a foreigner here in Toulouse. I said, I know what it feels like being far away from your family, being a South African, not being in South Africa. When times are tough, you don't have your support system around you. And I genuinely meant it. And he sent me a WhatsApp because I gave my number to him, and he was so grateful. He said it really boosted him, really helped him, because still, for him being a young man as well, he was still trying to overcome the fact that I was like a big player to lose, and I'm willing to help. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. You got to remember where you come from. We all had humble beginnings at some stage. And, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. I think that's the most important. But what I would like is, if you guys can help me, as the show is evolving, if there's anything that you resonate with, please drop me a message, comment on the YouTube platform or on Spotify, send me a DM, and also let me know what type of content you would like me to share with you guys on the podcast or on the Coach G show. I'm definitely looking at, I played around last week, spoke about the BOK lessons. I'm looking at that concept after weekend. There was key lessons from certain games, and I would like to share that with you guys. But anyway, all right, guys, that's me. Nice and short today. Hope you guys have an unbelievable week. All right, so Tuesday, and not sure what the date's going to be this Tuesday, because I'm recording it now, Thursday, 20th of November. Super pumped for the new guests that I've lined up on the show. And also, if you know of any great people that would love to come onto the show and share their truth, share their knowledge and their experience with us, please let me know. All right, and remember, continue to like, follow, and subscribe. Help me to grow the show. So that's me, Coach G, and this was the first official episode on the Coach G Show. Have a good day. Ciao, ciao. Bye.